Hello there and welcome to today's video in which I'm going to be sharing with you how I make clay tattoos. This video or class was originally developed for Skillshare, so it's quite in-depth really and a little different to my YouTube tutorials, but I'm sure you'll find it pretty interesting if you're into tattoos. And because of that, I'd really encourage you to kind of explore tattoo design and see what inspires you really. I don't need to tell you that there's just millions of tattoo designs out there in all different styles. So by all means go and explore and find a design that really inspires you. And you never know, you might want to even do a clay version of a tattoo that you already have, or somebody that you know has. Perhaps you want to make a gift for them, something like that. What I would say, however, is that it's really useful to draw up your tattoo design before you get started on clay work, just so that you've got a really good idea of what you want your end result to look like really. So with no further ado, let's go and get started. So for this class I'll be using these colours of polymer clay. So I've got a cream, a green, a red and a black, and I'm using Fimo Professional for this class, but you can use any coloured polymer clay that you have. And I'll be using these tools here, and they are quite flexible. It's really down to the design that you're making really as to what tools that you'll need. But I have an acrylic roller, a blaze cutting tool, a needle tool, a small ball tool and my scalpel. And I've also got a heart-shaped cookie cutter in a fairly small size, along with a fondant cutter in just a round shape. I'd really recommend when you're working with polymer clay that you have some wet wipes nearby, because I certainly go through quite a few whenever I'm working on a project, just to keep my work nice and clean. I'll also be using my pasta machine to roll out my clays, just so it's nice and flat and nicely conditioned, but you can always work with an acrylic roller or such like if you don't have access to a pasta machine. So to start my clay tattoo, I've got some really nice red polymer clay here for the hearts, and I'm just going to use my acrylic roller just to make sure that it's nice and flat. And as a tip, I'd recommend working with some parchment paper, because it allows you basically to move your piece around really easily while you're working on it. So I've got my heart-shaped cookie cutter tool here, so I'm just going to cut that out and just carefully remove it from the cutter. And if you're anything like me, you'll find that your cookie cutter doesn't cut out sort of 100% of the clay. So what I'm doing here is just going around with my scalpel just to take off the straggly ends, basically to really try and keep it as neat as possible. And now I'm just going to go over with a wet wipe just to ensure that those edges are really nice and neat. I find that the more time that you invest into your clay work, the better your end result will be really, so it's really worth trying to keep your work neat. So now my heart's all done, I'm going to move on to the ribbons. So I've got some really nice cream coloured clay here, and I'll just ensure that it's nice and flat. And with my blaze cutting tool here, I'm just going to cut out a strip of clay like so. And what I need to do now is just basically try and work out where that's going to go. So it needs actually to fold over the hearts like so, and if you can almost imagine an S shape, that's kind of what you're going for really. So you need to see the overlaps really, because that's what will give it a nice kind of flourish really. So there you go, you can really see that S shape there. So pretty happy with that. So now I need 2 strips of the cream clay for the ends of the ribbon. So I'll just cut those out. And I basically need to make a chevron shape at the bottom, so I'll just do that with my blaze cutting tool here. Now I can start positioning those. So I'll just pop one underneath like so. And I want to ensure that these lines are as parallel as possible really, so just spend a few moments. Oops, not quite right. There we go, that's better. So that's nice and straight. Now I need to move on to the leaves. So I've got just a very sort of basic fondant cutout tool here. So I'm going to cut out 6 circles. And once they're done, I'm just going to make them into leaf shapes. So basically I just need to spend some time working out where I want those to go. So I need 3 leaves on either side of the hearts. And this particular leaf is a bit too chunky, so I'm just going to take an edge off there. There we go. Just lift that up, and I think that works better. So I'll just do the same on the other sides, pop 3 leaves in and just work out where I want those to go, because I don't want them to look too crowded basically. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now it's time to move on to the outline work. So now I need to work on the line work with polymer clay. So I'm going to start with the leaves. So what I need to do is just basically put a line of black clay around the green, and I need to ensure that it's sticking well, so I'm just using my fingers here, just trying to put a little bit of a point on there as well. And for a little more detail, I'll just pop on a little piece of black polymer clay down the centre. And you could add further lines if you wanted to put sort of vein work on your leaves as well, it's entirely up to you. I'm just trying to keep it sort of as basic as I can today, just so you can see what I'm doing really. And here's the last of the leaves, so just need to try and work out where I want those to go. Just really trying to ensure that they're nice and sort of evenly placed. So now the leaves are done, I can work on the bottom of the ribbon like so. So I just need to sort of very carefully remove that. And again, I'm just going to go around with a line of black polymer clay. It is just a little tricky in the centre here, so what I'm going to do is just to use firstly my needle tool here to really try and sort of coax it into the centre. And I'll just take off the end here with my scalpel. And just really trying to sort of force that clay into the centre really. And to neaten things, I'm just using the edge of my scalpel here, just to really try and ensure that the lines are nice and straight. And I'll do the same with my blade cutting tool here, just really trying to position the clay where I want it. And now that's done, I can just pop that into place. So I just need to sort of be very careful just placing that, so there we go. And for a little extra detail, just going to add on a couple of little kind of flourish lines really. So here's the first and the second. And of course you don't have to do this, but I think it adds quite a nice effect really. So just going to do the same on the other side or the other ends of the ribbon. Just try and coax that into place. There we go, pretty happy with that. So now I want to work on the heart shape itself. So I've got a slightly longer line of the black polymer clay here, and excuse the colour of my hands, I've been mixing the black clay and the pigment stuck a little. So with my small ball tool here, I'm doing a very similar process really. I just need to ensure that that's sticking well into the little V shape of the heart really. Just take the end off here and just try and attach that to the heart. There we go. And I'll just work on the other side of the heart. Just need to take the end off again and just pop that into place. So there we go. So I just need to really try and get that to stick together. And lastly, I need to work on the top section of the ribbon, so I'm just gonna work around again with a fairly long section of black clay, and I just need to take it to the end here. I'm sure you'll see what I'm doing, but I just need to remove the ends here like so, and just really try and pop that into place. And I'll just do the same on the other side of the ribbon. So it's like a S shape that I'm making, really. Well, kind of anyway. And it's just a little bit fiddly, so it might take you a few moments just to get it into place, really. And there we go. And again, I just need to take the end off. And I just need to ensure that that's sticking well. And there we go, my outline is all done. So now I need to start work on the lettering of my clay tattoo, and I'm going to go for the word love. So I'm obviously going to start with the letter L. So I'm just basically making little lines of clay with some black polymer clay here. And this is arguably the most fiddly part of the project, because it's, you know, better to be as precise as you can be, really. So I'm moving on to the letter O, and this is probably the most difficult of the letters. So I'm just going to curve over my O like so, and just try and coax the ends together just with my fingers. And you might need to do this a few times if you're making a letter O. So now I've got my small ball tool here, and I'm just really trying to sort of pull that clay together. And I'll just give it a little roll and then pop it onto the tattoo. And when I'm positioning the O, I'm really trying to bear in mind that, you know, I've got to fit on a V and an E as well. So I'll just start on the letter V now. It might well be worth trying to work out your lettering on a, you know, a separate spare piece of clay first, just so you know, you feel a bit more confident when it comes to placing your letters on your actual tattoo. So I'll just keep going. And here's the last piece of my letter E. And I just need to really try and coax that into position, so I'll just use my scalpel here, just the tip of it, just to really try and sort of push it into place. And I'm just going to pop on a couple of little dots, just so it kind of finishes it quite nicely. And there we go, it's definitely a clay tattoo now, isn't it? So my piece of clay art is ready to bake. So I've just popped it onto a baking sheet, again with the parchment paper. And I'd really recommend that you use a baking sheet that's used only for polymer clay arts, as you shouldn't really be mixing, you know, tools that you use for clay arts and for foods. So I'm just going to pop this off to the oven. And at this point, you'll need to refer to your own brand of polymer clays, baking instructions. And here's the piece, all baked and cooled. And I personally think this design works really well in polymer clay. It's really reminiscent of pop arts, as well as obviously traditional tattoo arts, and it's pretty versatile. What I've done here with a slightly older version of the same design is to just pop it into a shadow box, which I think works really well, particularly when you've got a really nice sort of contrasting colour on there. And you can always go on to create different designs as well. Here's a slightly older one as well that I've used the same principles, but I've applied flowers instead of leaves. So yeah, it's just really versatile. I'd encourage you to really research tattoo art and come up with a piece that feels sort of unique to you and expresses a message that obviously you want to put into your artwork. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'd really love to see your clay tattoo designs. So once they're ready, by all means tag me at claydisarray on Twitter, Facebook, Mastodon, I'm on them all. Let me know actually if you've any suggestions for any future classes or tutorials you'd like to see on the Clay Disarray channel, and you know, I might give that some thoughts. So that's it for today. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.